Friends, welcome to this part 2 video on calculating HRA. If you have not seen our part 1 video, I strongly recommend you to go and watch the part 1 video. Now let us move on to the case study. Here we are given with the case study of three individuals who live in three different scenarios. Mr. Sam, who own a house but stay in a rented accommodation. His actual HRA benefit is 14,000 rupees per month and the rent paid every month is rupees 10,000. Mr. Alex, who own a house but stay in house owned by the parents. His actual HRA is rupees 12,000 per month and the actual rent paid towards their parents' house is 15,000 per month. Mr. Paul, who stay in self-owned house. His actual HRA benefit received from his employer is rupees 13,000 per month and there is no rent paid by him. All you need to do is just do the calculation and conclude whether these individuals are eligible for claiming HRA benefit. Now let us move on to the HRA calculation part. Here we have listed the basic salary for all three individuals for the ease of calculation. All you need to do is list out the actual HRA and the actual rent paid by all these three individuals for effective calculation. Actual HRA received by Mr. Sam as per the case study is 14,000 per month, which you need to multiply with 12. Similarly, Mr. Alex receives a HRA benefit of rupees 12,000 per month, and for Mr. Paul, who receives 13,000 rupees per month as a HRA benefit from his employer. Now we need to list out the actual rent paid by all these three individuals. Mr. Sam is paying a rent of 10,000 per month. Mr. Alex pays 15,000 rupees per month to his own parents. Does Mr. Paul pay any rent because he is staying in a self-occupied house? So as per the given case study, he is not paying any rent. Now I just want you to remember the three steps which we have discussed in our previous video of part 1. If you summarize those three steps, it is easy for you to do a calculation. Those three steps are: list out actual HRA received, and you need to discount the actual rent paid with 10% of the salary. Finally, check whether you live in metro or not. Accordingly, calculate the value. The minimum of all these three steps will be the final eligible amount to claim under HRA. Now let us move back to the calculation. The first one is actual HRA received. The second one would be actual rent paid minus 10% of salary, and the third one is ask yourself, do you live in metro or not? Now we need to input the respective value against all these three individuals. What is the actual HRA received by Mr. Sam? 1,68,000 rupees per annum. The actual HRA received by Mr. Alex is 1,44,000 rupees per annum. The actual HRA received by Mr. Paul is 1,56,000 rupees per annum. Now you need to discount the actual rent paid with 10% of the basic salary. Type equals discount the actual rent paid with 10% of the basic salary of Mr. Sam. Instead of calculating this variable for all individuals separately, all you need to do is press Ctrl C and paste across the cell where you want to calculate the similar value for Mr. Alex and Mr. Paul. For Mr. Paul it is not applicable because he doesn't pay any rent. Do you live in Metro? If your answer is going to be yes, then the value for Mr. Sam is 50% of his basic salary. Assume Mr. Alex is not staying in Metro. Ideally his answer will be no. Hence we need to input 40% of his basic salary in this case. This condition is again not applicable for Mr. Paul because he doesn't pay any rent at all. Now you need to calculate the minimum of 3 variables as we discussed in the previous video. It is either the value arrived based on living in Metro or non-Metro, or the actual rent paid minus 10% of the salary, or the actual HRA received, for which you need to write a minimum condition using Microsoft Excel. 75,000 rupees is the actual HRA eligible amount for Mr. Sam, though his actual HRA is higher than this eligible amount. If you do the similar calculation for Mr. Alex, you would be able to figure out the value for Mr. Alex, which is 1,30,000 rupees. If you do a simple comparison between Mr. Sam and Mr. Alex, for Mr. Sam the actual HRA offered by the employer is high, but the eligible amount is lower than that. Whereas in case of for Mr. Alex, the actual HRA is lesser than Mr. Sam, but he actually eligible for the higher amount than Mr. Sam. So all this would be possible only based on the calculation. And Mr. Paul is completely not eligible for this calculation because he lives in a self-occupancy house. Now I am sure that this video would have helped you to understand how HRA is computed for individual different scenarios. Thanks for watching this video.